Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Reclaiming My Life. I'm Tramika Cooper, co author of Reclaiming My Life, and tonight we will be discussing substance abuse and the effects that it has on families. Now, no one knows the root causes of addictions, but that could range from trauma, mental health struggles, or addicted to painkillers due to injury. Whatever the situation may be, substance abuse may be in a lot of our viewers' homes, and it needs to be discussed. Now, I myself have a family member who is addicted to drugs, and it's hard dealing with them. Their mood swings, asking for money, and even playing the blame game. It takes a toll on family, and you hate seeing your loved one in that capacity. So I went to the Bible, and First Peter 5 and 8 says, "Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour." So as we all know, substance abuse dulls the mind and it makes it much easier to fall into destructive behavior. So Peter was warning the readers that when you're not sober, you're more likely to make bad choices. Addicts may start to steal, to get drug money, and lie to cover their addiction. So I don't want to take up too much time and just speak on it myself. I'm going to call in visionary author Coach Claudia to get some insight on this topic.
Good evening, everyone. Wow, Tramika, this is a very good topic, because I experienced it myself being, that family member that
Mhm.
had a loved one on drugs. And, a lot of times I hear people say, how it can affect a family member, more than it's affecting the one that's using the
Right.
drugs, right? Which is true because as a family member, we're worrying about that person. We're concerned, we're stressed, we're overwhelmed. We're trying our best, to pull them in and encourage them and, find always all kinds of techniques of trying to, get them off the drugs. So it's taking a toll on our bodies,
Yes.
our health, our mental state. Again, like I said, I experienced it, and my loved one was on cocaine.
Mhm.
So, of course, at first I had no idea. When you don't know, you don't know. When you're
Right.
not aware of the signs and symptoms of someone using drugs, you're going about your everyday life until you start noticing what happened to the money, you
Right.
know. But I actually witnessed the person doing drugs. That's how I actually found out. So because I witnessed, it wasn't intentional. Put it that way. They were sneaking, and I just so happened to see them. But some of the things that I did was, you got to give me your whole paycheck, and let me give you. Matter of fact, let me put the gas in your car.
Right.
Let me give you just what you need. And I mean need, not
Mhm.
want,
Right.
and it helped. It really helped because a person, our co-author in Reclaiming My Life, Ursula Jones,
Mhm.
she talked about when she was addicted to drugs.
Right.
And, it wasn't what anyone was saying to her. No, no matter how much her friends wanted her to get off drugs or whoever wanted her to get off drugs, she could not do that
Mhm.
until she made it up in her mind, this is it.
Right.
But as loved ones, we can constantly encourage because when that person actually makes up in their mind, they'll
Mhm.
always look back and say, you helped me, you encouraged me, you never left me, you prayed for me, you forgave me. So those are some of the things that we can continue to do, although it's hard,
Right.
but we can't give up.
Right. That's exactly true. Thank you so
Hmm.
much, Claudia.
You're
I'm going to
welcome.
bring in Dr. Tyson.
Hello, how you
Hello.
doing?
How are you? So,
Doing well.
coming from a clinical point of view, what can you tell us about substance abuse or what you have seen, in the office?
So, as Coach Claudia mentioned, it can be very stressful for not only the patient but the family member. One, especially if the patient is dealing with a mental health issue already, whether it's depression or anxiety. So this is going to keep them either from coming to the appointments, delay treatment, and then the family is there. They want to provide protection, and so they're worried, they're stressed. They're like, hey, how can we help? Like she
Mhm.
said earlier, you're trying to tell the person, hey, let's go into the clinic, let's get help. And sometimes we've even had family members that come, I don't know what to do. I'm stressed out. I'm trying to make sure that they're safe, they're not wandering on the street. I'm worried about if my money's going to be stolen in the home. And sometimes they can get to the point where they don't want to have their family member arrested, but if they're stealing from them and living on the street, they're worried that they're going to come in and take some things. And sometimes the family members do end up, the individual does end up living on the street. But
Mhm.
sometimes when they realize, from other people they're talking to on the street, that, hey, I want to change, I want to do something different here. And sometimes these individuals have to hit rock bottom before they realize, hey, I could die. Sometimes it's just that wake up call. But the main thing is with family members and in general, not being judgmental of this individual, because you don't know what they're dealing with. Do they have a substance abuse? Do they just lose their job, or do they have a mental illness? And
Mhm.
so you never know when someone's circumstance is going to change. So being non-judgmental, also looking out for the signs of seeing someone abusing a substance, whether it's a change in their behavior. They're acting a little bit more erratic, or they're trying to hide things, they're trying to steal, or they're not even going to work now. They're missing days from work. Their performance at work is poor. They're getting write-ups on the job. So looking for these particular clues, watching their pupils. Are their pupils getting smaller? Are they getting larger? So kind of watching these things and noticing some change in that person's behavior. And like Coach Claudia said earlier, giving that person what they need. Hey, can I have your paycheck? So that way they're not, you know, burning up the money from necessary bills that they need for, such as their health insurance, or
Mhm.
because health insurance is important because they're going to need that to go seek help. But there's also, for the family, there are support groups out there. There is Alcohol Anonymous for the patient. There's Alateen for the teen that's dealing with substance. So there are different groups that you can join. You can Google them. When the person's ready, they have sponsors that they
Mhm.
can reach out to in these programs. There's also biblical based programs. And in our area, we have a lady that just opened up a recovery home for women that have been out there. And not only does this place provide a place for them to stay, but it's also Bible based. And then she also takes them to their appointments. So there is help, but when you're ready. So sometimes the person has to be ready. You can talk to them and say, hey, this is doing this to your health, this is doing this to your family, but they have to be ready.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Tyson. And both of you hit it right on the nail. It's really hard, having a family member and you seeing it firsthand. Um, I'm seeing it firsthand, and it takes a huge toll on the family. You hate seeing them like that, but it's like, what else can I do? And like Coach Claudia said, give me your money. Let me fill up that tank.
Mm-hmm.
If you need food, I will feed you, but I cannot,
Mm-hmm.
give you money. you know um they're starting to lie about what they're doing with their money, what they need money for, and it becomes a cycle, and it's a big strain on the family. And I've talked to a lot of families, and they're at their wits end. They don't know what to do. They
Mm-hmm.
don't know what to do. Coach Claudia, do you have anything else you want to say about the situation?
Yes, I also want to say, we also need to ask that question, why? What led the person to using drugs? I know, like Ursula said, and again, I'm going back to Ursula because she was a co-author in Reclaiming My Life, and her
Hmm.
topic was on drugs. So, like she said, she turned to drugs when she was grieving. A
Hmm.
lot of times, people don't know how to cope, and when they're grieving, they turn to drugs, so that was her why. Sometimes people turn to drugs because um, family, if they're in a home and they're seeing their parents, the father is abusive, they're hurting, they're trying to numb the pain, or this is what I saw my parents do, or because I experienced so much trauma as a child and as a teen, my parents didn't really care what I was doing, so
Mhm.
I turned to drugs. Another reason could be, again, sexual trauma. Sometimes when we're raped and we're suffering in silence and we don't want to share that, we turn to drugs. We can't turn to people because we don't want to be judged, or we don't want anyone to know, what happened. And all of a sudden we're using drugs and the family members are like, well, what happened? You
Mhm.
know, I mean, she has changed or he has changed, but they don't know that he or she, trauma happened in their life. So,
Right.
we have to ask that question, why, when it's our family members and we love them so much and this is not how we raised them,
Right.
we just have to really dig deep and say, what's going on? Why? Why did this happen? Were you hanging with the wrong crowd? You tried it for one time and, now you're addicted. It's just so many reasons why people, turn to drugs. So I just want to say to the people out there, try to dig deep and find out that why. Why did your family member, because I know some parents are struggling today, even with, their young people or their children, even when your children are grown and
Yes.
they're, addicted to drugs, it hurts. That's your child,
Yes.
so, we have to dig deep and just try to find out the why and then say, now that we know the why, or even go to therapy, to let's sit down together. Maybe it's something you never shared with me. What's going on? You can trust me. And like Dr. Tyson said, don't be judgmental because sometimes our children don't want to come to us and tell us, well, I made a mistake, and I didn't want to hurt you. And I feel like I can't go to my parents because I will hurt them.
Mhm.
So I turn to drugs. So make sure you're not being judgmental. You just wrap your arms around them. I love you because at the end of the day, you want to save your child.
Right.
And you yelling and lashing out. Well, why did you do that? You knew better. That's not going to help the situation. It happened. All you
Right.
can do then is just pray, especially if they're grown, you
Right.
know. And even if they're not, we can't change the situation. We want to save our children.
Right. Thank you so much
Hmm.
for that. Dr. Tyson, one question. Do you have any other resources for family members that may, where they can go and speak to someone whenever whenever that person that's on drugs or an alcoholic don't want any resources?
Yes, so that's a very good question. So there are different groups or organizations available for family members. Like I said, whatever area that you're in, just Google support groups for loved ones, whether they're dealing with narcotics or whether they're dealing with opioids or whether they're dealing with alcohol. There are different support groups in your area.
Thank you so much.
Also, your just want to say also the local federally qualified agencies for individuals that don't have insurance or are self-pay. Also, that's another great resources. There are so many grant dollars that go to these federally qualified agencies that have substance abuse programs for individuals that don't have insurance, and they also have resources and case management there for their family members and the patient or the family member.
Okay. Thank you, ladies. So I'm going to end it with a Bible verse. First Corinthians 10 and 13 says, "But when you are tempted, God will also provide a way out so that you can endure it." This verse tells addicts that there is always a way back to sobriety. Even when it all seems hopeless, never give up. Having God's grace means that even though you may have lied, stolen, cheated, and hurt others because of your addiction, God still loves you. If you're trying to get sober, keep your head up. Take it one day at a time. Trust God and believe that you can reclaim your life.